नमस्कार विद्यार्थी मित्रांनो, खूप सर्व विद्यार्थ्यांच्या डिमांड नंतर आपण आपली इंडियन पॉलिटीची बॅच इंग्लिशमध्ये सुरू करत आहोत. ही इंग्लिशमधील बॅच मी जवळपास सर्वच्या सर्व लक्ष्मीकांत कव्हर करण्याचा प्रयत्न केलेला आहे. ही इंग्लिश मीडियममधल्या बॅचची तुम्हाला एक नोट्ससुद्धा मिळेल आणि यासोबतच तुम्हाला या बॅचचे सर्वच्या सर्व व्हिडिओज, आपलं जे ज्ञानदीप अकॅडमीचा लाल कलरचा लोगो असणारा ॲप आहे, या लाल कलरचा लोगो असणाऱ्या ॲपवर तुम्हाला सर्वच्या सर्व बॅच मिळेल. मग या बॅचला ॲक्सेस किती असेल, व्हिडिओज केव्हा अपलोड केले जातील, तुम्ही ते व्हिडिओज किती दिवस पाहू शकता, या सर्व बाबतीतली सर्वच्या सर्व सूचना त्या ॲपवरच त्या ठिकाणी सूचना या सदरामध्ये तुम्हाला दिलेली आहे. तर मी तुम्हाला सर्वांना सुचवेल, ज्या विद्यार्थ्यांना इंग्लिश मीडियममधनं इंडियन पॉलिटीची बॅच हवी होती, तुम्ही ही बॅच नक्की जॉईन करा, तुमच्या मित्रांसोबत सुद्धा शेअर करा. यामध्ये मी तुम्हाला प्रत्येक कन्सेप्ट सांगण्याचा प्रयत्न तर केला आहेच, मात्र या कन्सेप्टच्या सोबतच त्या टॉपिकशी निगडीत जो महत्त्वाचा कंटेंट आहे आणि त्या टॉपिकशी निगडीत जे महत्त्वाचा फॅक्च्युअल डेटा आहे, जो तुमच्या परीक्षेसाठी अत्यंत उपयुक्त असतो, हा सर्वच्या सर्व डेटा सुद्धा मी त्या ठिकाणी देण्याचा प्रयत्न केलेला आहे. सो तुम्हाला सर्वांना विनंती की बॅच शेअर करा आणि जॉईन करा. थँक्यू. हॅलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम यू ऑल टू द नेक्स्ट सेशन ऑफ इंडियन पॉलिटी. नाउ टुडे वी विल ट्राय टू लर्न द रिमेनिंग फीचर्स ऑफ द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. नेक्स्ट important feature is India is a federal system with unitary bias. No, these are very important terms that we'll try to understand. And why these terms are important? Because these terms are very, very essential for understanding the basic nature of our constitution. Now, what is meaning of federal system? What is meaning of unitary system? Means why a particular constitution is called as federal and why a constitution is called as unitary is based on the nature of relationship between central government and regional government. It means how the relationship are going between Mamata Banerjee and Narendra Modi, or Uddhav Thackeray and Narendra Modi, is a part of these federal relations, or whether the relations are federal or unitary. This is the interesting part that we will try to understand. So remember, federal or unitary systems are based on the nature of relationship between central government and regional government, which are also a state government. So we'll try to understand this every point one by one. See, now some of the features of the Indian constitution are federal in nature. They are federal. We'll understand what is the meaning of federal, while some of the features are unitary in character. But majority features of the Indian constitution are unitary in nature. This is the reason why we call Indian constitution or our system a federal system with unitary bias. It means we are more inclined or we are more biased towards central government. It means central government has more power, more authority, more privileges than state government. That's why ours is a federal system which is more biased towards central government. That's why this is the reason some features are federal, some features are unitary, but more features are unitary. This is the reason why India is a federal system with unitary bias. Now, what is meaning of the federal features? It is very simple term. When central government and state governments are treated equally, when central government and state government have equal rights, equal authorities, equal privileges, equal autonomy, it is called as a federal system. So in simple term, if I put it here like this, center is equal to state, then this system is called as a federal system. Then what are the federal features? So the features of the constitution which treats state governments equally with central government. First point. So here the treatment between central government and state government is equal, which treats state governments equally with the central government, or the features of the constitution which makes an attempt to give equal autonomy to states with the center. Second part. And it protects rights, authorities and privileges of the state from encroachment by the center are called as federal feature. Clear? So basically, when center is equal to state, it is called as a federal feature. So the features of the constitution which makes an attempt to give equal right to state as well as center, which makes an attempt to give equal autonomy to state with center, are the features of the constitution which protects authority, rights, privileges and autonomy of a state governments. From whom? From central government. From encroachment by the central government, then these features are called as a federal feature. That's why I told you written constitution is a federal feature. Why? Because every minute point of the Indian constitution is given in writing. So whenever a central government makes an attempt to encroach upon the authority of the state will approach Supreme Court saying that this is given in the constitution and central government is not going as per the provisions of the constitution. So you please look into the matter and protect us, that is states, from encroachment by the center. That's a written constitution is a federal feature. So it is federal feature. United States of America is world's oldest federation. Remember, United States of America is world's oldest federation. Then, unitary feature. The features of the constitution which makes central government all powerful as compared to state government. It means center is all powerful than state is called as unitary feature. It means central government is all powerful. All authority, all powers, all privileges, all autonomy, all financial things lies in the hands of the central government, and state governments are at the mercy of central government is a unitary system and they are unitary features. Like England, United Kingdom, UK is a unitary system where the entire power lies in the hands of central government. Then, now the words federation. When both center and states are treated equally in terms of authority, power, privileges and autonomy. Those who are going to write UPSC mains answers, you have to keep these words in mind. This is very, very important. When state governments are treated equally with state in terms of authority, power, privileges and autonomy, it is called as federation. As I told you, United States of America is the first and oldest federation in the world. Very, very interesting. USA is the first and oldest federation in the world. Here, center is equal to states. Second word, unitary state. When all the powers are concentrated in the hands of central government and regional government or state governments are merely units, it is a unitary state. For example, England, Britain is a unitary state. Center is more than or larger than state. Third, confederation. When various states or various nations come together for temporary interest, and once the interests are fulfilled, then that agreement is gone. It is called as confederation. So what is definition of confederation? In simple terms, confederation means loose federation. Loose or temporary federation. Various states come together for just fulfilling their temporary interest, and once the interests are fulfilled, then the states move away from each other is a confederation. For example, Belarus, Russia and Kazakhstan have confederation amongst them. Here it is have, right? Federation, federal system, unitary system, confederation. Confederation is also called as loose federation, or it is also called as a temporary federation. Now, the four most important statement for any kind of examination that you have to mug up, you should know all these four statements by heart. First statement, India is not a federation of states. Why? Because in India, states are not equal with center. Why? Because India is not formed out of any agreement between the states. Right? So that's why, remember, India is not a federation of states. Very, very important statement. Second, India is a union of states. Very interesting line. So whenever a question comes, what is India? So first line should be, India is a union of states. India is not a federation of states. Third, Indian constitution is federal in nature. Now, why Indian constitution is federal? Because Indian constitution has made an attempt to give equal power to center with the state. That's why our constitution is federal in nature. Like state governments have law making power, state governments have executive power, state governments have financial powers. So state governments have all these kinds of power. The only thing, these powers of the state governments are not equal, not at par, or not same with the center, somewhat lower. But still, powers have been given, financial power, legislative power, executive power have been given to the state. That's why Indian constitution is federal in nature. Fourth important, federalism is the basic structure of Indian constitution. I will be explaining you what is meaning of basic structure of Indian constitution after a few days. Just remember over here. But here remember, federalism is the basic structure of Indian constitution. Clear? So these are four most important statement. Every person who is preparing for civil services, whether it is state service or it is your central service, you should know these statements very, very importantly. In that, this fourth statement I am yet to explain in a very clear manner. Once we are done with certain basic concepts, we will move forward to understand this line. Now, the important question that we have just seen few minutes back. India is not a federation of states. Why? What is the reason? If constitution has given equal powers, financial power, executive power, legislative power, then why India is not a federation of states? Why? What is the reason? Because India is not formed out of any agreement between the states. To get recognition as a federation, it should be an agreement between the units. Various constituent units should come together. They should form an agreement on equal terms and conditions, and then only you will be called as a federation. But India is not formed out of any agreement between the states. There is no agreement. One agreement is there, that is between Indian government and state of Jammu and Kashmir, which is also no more there, right? So that's why India is not formed out of any agreement between the states. Second, no state has the right to move away from Indian Union. No state has the right to move away from Indian Union. So these are the two most important reasons why India is not a federation of states. First, India is not formed out of any agreement between the states. Second, no state has the right to move away from Indian Union. So these are the two most important reasons that India is not a federation of states. Clear? Now, then do these two criteria fulfill about America as a federation of states? So yes, America is formed out of agreement between the northern states and southern states. Clear? So first agreement was fulfilled, and second agreement, can a state from America move away from American Federation? Yes. A state in America can move away from American Federation, but the process to move away from American Federation is so difficult that no state can move away from American Federation. In theory, an American state can move away from American Federation, but in practice, it is very difficult. The process for moving away from American Federation is so difficult that no state can move away from American Federation. So that's why America is a federation of states. India is not a federation of states. This is important line that you should know. I will explain this line during chapter on union and states. India is an indestructible union of destructible states. I will explain this word later on. Just remember this line. India is an indestructible union of destructible states. Now, certain opinions about Indian federal system. First opinion is Indian constitution is federal in form but unitary in spirit. It means if you look at the structure of Indian Union, it is federal. But if you look at its functioning, it is unitary. Right? If we look at the structure of Indian Union, it is completely federal. But if you look at the proper functioning, then you will realize that it is not federal, it is unitary. Then K.C. Weir called Indian system as a quasi-federal. It means half federal. Then Morris Jones called Indian system as a bargaining federalism. Then Granville Austin called Indian system as a cooperative federalism. And Ivor Jennings called India a federation with centralizing tendencies. So all these four names are very, very important. Here you could get a question on match the pair. quasi-federal, Casey Ware, bargaining federalism, Morris Jones, cooperative federalism, Granville Austin, and federation with centralizing tendencies, Ivor Jennings. So you should know all these four names, right? Then what is the system or what is the type of government? Now from here onwards, almost every single chapter has been represented in features of the constitution. We are going to study this every feature in detail while studying that topic. I will just give you a brief idea about the features. So what form of government we have in India? In India, we have parliamentary form of government. In India, we have parliamentary form of government. Like, what is parliamentary form of government? We are going to study that in detail in parliamentary system. But here you have to remember Article 163 and 164 in the states and Article 74 and Article 75 in the center. These are the basis of parliamentary form of government. So this is the most important factual data you have to remember. Article 163 and 164 in this state and Article 74 and 75 in the center. These are the basis of parliamentary form of government. Then, what is the cardinal principle of parliamentary form of government? What is the most important underlying link of parliamentary form of government? So, remember, parliamentary form of government is based on harmonious relationship between legislature and executive. It means there are least possible confrontation between legislature and executive. Why? Because in parliamentary form of government, these executives are also members of legislature. Executives, which involves Prime Minister plus Council of Minister. So this Prime Minister and Council of Ministers are also members of legislature, which is our parliament, which is composed of two houses. One is Lok Sabha, second is Rajya Sabha. So it is composed of Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. So executives are members of legislature. And second, only the political party which has majority in legislature will get a right to form government. So it means obviously they have majority in legislature. So they will form government. They will be part of executive. So this is the reason why, remember, a parliamentary system is based on harmonious, friendly relationship between legislature and executive. We are going to see this point in detail while studying parliamentary system. Now here we opted for parliamentary form of government from Britain. So here remember, we have taken this parliamentary form of government from Britain. We rejected presidential form of government which was prevalent in the United States of America. Now this parliamentary form of government is also known by various names. What are those names? It is also known as Westminster model of government. Why? Because British Parliament is located at this place and the name of the place is Westminster. So it is also called as Westminster model of government. It is also called as responsible government. Why responsible government? Because I will just make a statement and I will explain you this statement while studying parliamentary system. Because in case of India, Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to Parliament in general and to Lok Sabha in particular. I repeat once again, in Indian parliamentary system, Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to Parliament. They are responsible to Parliament in general, but to Lok Sabha in particular. Why Lok Sabha in particular? Because they have to prove their majority. They have to go for no confidence motion in Lok Sabha and not in Rajya Sabha. That's why it is also called as responsible government. It is also called as cabinet form of government, or it is also called as prime ministerial government. Now, one simple thing, why parliamentary system is called as prime ministerial government? It has basis of three articles: Article 74, Article 75 and Article 78. I am going to explain all these three articles, that why it is called as prime ministerial government. But remember, the basis of prime ministerial government is Article 74, Article 75 and Article 78. Then what are the features of parliamentary form of government? We are going to study these in detail. Just I will list out the important features. They are real and nominal executive. In case of parliamentary form of government, prime minister plus council of minister are real executive, whereas president is just only a nominal executive. Collective responsibility. Here remember, Article 74 is the basis of collective responsibility. As I told you that important line, Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to Parliament in general and to Lok Sabha in particular. Dual membership, it means the members of executive are also members of legislature. Dual membership, double membership. That is, a person is member of legislature, law making organ, and he is a person of executive, that is law implementing organ. Honorable Narendra Modi or the Prime Minister is member of minister as well as member of legislature. Leadership of the Prime Minister and Chief Minister, dissolution of the lower house, that is Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha are dissolved, and others. We are going to study all these in detail. Just a brief look. Then seventh important feature, in case of India, we have synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. I am going to explain this point in detail. Just here remember, while explaining you the point on constitutional amendment, we are going to study this point in detail. Just remember this seventh feature of Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution is a synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. Before that, here remember, in Britain, they have unwritten constitution, right? In Britain, this is in relation to this seventh point. I am explaining the important aspects. So, this parliamentary sovereignty, from where we have taken this feature belongs to England, UK, whereas judicial supremacy, this feature belongs to United States of America, right? And in India, we have both. So why we have both? Let's go into it. Clear? Again, the most important feature of Indian Constitution is a synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. Now here, the point parliamentary sovereignty, we have taken this point of parliamentary sovereignty from England, and we have taken this point of judicial supremacy from USA. Now what it is, let's go into it. See, let's think about Britain first. Now in Britain, they have a constitution, but their constitution is not written, right? Britain has a constitution, but their constitution is not written. Then what are the parts of British constitution? Laws made by parliament forms the major part of British constitution. It means in Britain, every law made by British parliament is a part of constitution. It means who has supremacy? Parliament has supremacy. Parliament can make law. Parliament can change that law. Parliament can delete that law. Parliament can repeal that law. Parliament can again bring that law. So, whose word has final say? In Britain, Parliament has final say. Right? What Parliament says is final. It means whatever procedure established by law, a law which is made by Parliament will be supreme. That's why in Britain there is parliamentary sovereignty. It means, remember, in Britain what Parliament says is final. Why? Because every aspect or everything done by Parliament is a part of British Constitution. Now, this is the reason why in Britain Parliament is supreme. Now let's think of USA. In US, Constitution is very small. As I told you, American Constitution is one of the smallest constitution in the world. Why? Because they have given only principles. They did not talk about provisions. And whenever any kind of conflict is there, every conflict should be resolved by judiciary as it is being reflected in American Constitution. So, it contains only principles. So, whenever there is a question about interpretation of any law, interpretation of provisions of the Constitution, or resolving any conflict between center and state, or any conflict between on any aspect of legal procedure, what judiciary says will remain final in America. What was the case in Britain? What parliament says shall remain final. What is case in America? What judiciary says shall remain final. Clear? So these are two extremes. On one side, there is England where parliament says is final. On second side, there is USA where what judiciary says is final. Right? And why? In America, constitution is very small. So it is the responsibility of American judiciary to interpret every small provisions of the constitution in current context from the perspective of rule of law. In England, everything that is being done by parliament is constitution. So whatever parliament does is final. It cannot be challenged. So here what parliament says is final. So on one side what parliament says is final. On second side what judiciary says is final. India is somewhere on midway between these two. That's why in India parliament can make whatever law it wishes. But judiciary has the right to check validity, constitutionality and rationality of that law, and if judiciary finds that the law made by parliament is unconstitutional, irrational or not within the bounds of law, parliament can declare that law as null and void. Judiciary can declare that law as null and void. Parliament can again make that law. Judiciary will again declare it as null and void. So this cycle goes on. That's why in case of India, we have synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. Clear? So in India, who says is not final? It will keep on going and it is the best in the interest of entire nation. So in Britain, what parliament says is final. In America, what judiciary says is final. But in case of India, they keep on having synthesis between parliament and judiciary. That's why the most important feature of Indian constitution, in India, we have synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. That is due process of law. In Britain, there is procedure established by law. But in America, there is due process of law. I am going to explain these points in a very neat manner. But remember, in Britain, there is procedure established by law. In America, there is due process of law. This is the reason why in USA, judiciary is supreme. So, and in India, we have synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. Now, this is what I have written. In India, we have obtained the synthesis of these two extremes, right? American and British extremes. American extreme, judicial supremacy. British extreme, parliamentary sovereignty. In India, we have synthesis of both. So, in India, we have the synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. In this way, both these institutions will act as a text and balances upon each other. This will help to protect the domestic credentials of the Indian Constitution. It is supported by Article 21, right to life and personal liberty and basic structure of the Indian Constitution. So these 2 points are support that we have synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. So this is the second 8th feature of Indian Constitution. We will meet soon with the next features of the Constitution. Till then, have a good day. Thank you.